Hello everyone and welcome back. Like many of you, I've been busy these past few weeks playing Dawnless Days, and jumping into a bunch of sieges in there made me think, what the hell happened to the siege rework for Total War Warhammer 3? So for those who might have forgotten, there was a beta in 2025 during August that was going to be the siege rework that was going to come out in a patch. Or at least, that was their attempt. Creative Assembly said that they learned quite a lot about it, and that siege reworks would take a few patches to actually get right. But that's pretty much it, and it's kind of disappointing because, well, here we are pretty much half a year later, nothing's been heard about it. There was no siege fixes during 7.0. This is the major patch alongside Tides of Torment. We've also had a number of patches prior to that, and we're expecting a fair amount of patches before the release of 8.0 and Lords of the End Times. The problem is I don't expect it during Lords of the End Times because we know that there is a big patch coming alongside loads of map changes, and they're adding in loads of changes to the actual campaign map and all that type of stuff, which is cool, don't get me wrong, but I feel like, sieges are a little bit more important, functional gameplay over, the worst part of the Warhammer Fantasy franchise, having to relive that book series all over again. If we do end up getting a siege rework, it would have to be in the interim before Lords of the End Times, because all the stuff that we just talked about alongside a Vampire Count update might be quite, too heavy. Creative Assembly historically can't deal with too much. You never know. They have said that they've rehired a bunch of people. But sieges need to be done right because they are clearly one of the worst aspects of the game and have been for, so long. So what happened during the beta, and would that fix the problems? The problem is, I think the beta made things a little bit worse, not gonna lie. One thing they did was reduce the size of certain maps. These are for the major sieges. It was a Skaven map, it was a map that is used by orcs and I think also high elves, and there was another one, it was a bit of a tester. Essentially just moving the walls back a little bit, which made it harder to defend and pretty much the same way to attack. Nothing really changes there. I wouldn't say that the issue itself was the size of the map, but rather the internal pathfinding. Pathfinding has always been an issue, and it's not just for siege battles, both major and minor, but land battles and pretty much any type of battle map. You've seen it before, troops get stuck, troops just don't want to move, or they start conga lining up through an area because they took a weird bend. That stuff is what needs to be really looked at quite heavily. Siege Attacker was also going to be removed from a lot of Legendary Lords in the beta. It wasn't really consistent because some Greater Demons had it and some others didn't. I think that's not going to work out too well. It very much depends. A lot of people did like this, by the way, and I can kind of see why. But I feel like if that happens, then everyone's starting army needs to be touched up a bit again to introduce a large monster, or else sieges are going to be very, very slow for the beginning of your campaign. And I think that the beginning of your campaign is the most momentum that players do get until they start hitting that steamrolling part a few turns down the line. It's really important to remember here that whilst it slows it down for you, it doesn't necessarily slow it down for the AI, because the AI still does its cheats and still is able to get in there without too much of a problem. I'm in favor of removing Siege Attacker where it makes sense. Big demons and stuff shouldn't lose that, like Scarbrand shouldn't really lose that, which was just bizarre, but then Kugath kept it. Again, all for it, but everyone needs a starting large monster or siege weapon that can actually get in there, because a few units did also lose Siege Attacker, which became a problem, I think, for a lot of campaigns. And don't get me wrong, I think it'll be fine if enemy armies sallied out a little bit more, but yeah, it doesn't really happen often, and it becomes a bit of a slog. Sure, attrition got better there when it came to sieges, but I don't know, man. It just felt really strange overall. The biggest change was removing butt ladders in favor of these siege ladders instead. There's a few things that worked out right here. Obviously, nobody liked butt ladders, and Creative Assembly weren't going to spend so much money just making the ladders normal, which can be a problem there, right? Because that would have needed more animations to hold the ladders, blah, 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 blah. And it would have had to work with all these different races and factions that all have very, very different rigs and animations. The major problem that came out from this, though, was you could easily destroy those siege ladders, which I know sounds great as a defender. The problem is if your enemy is attacking you and the enemy is a AI faction, they don't know how to handle that. The moment that all of them are destroyed, they just don't know how to handle it. They don't know to go for the gates, for example, and that is if their units can actually go for the gates or go for the walls. it ends up with the AI derping out. How I have a battle on the channel where it was 4 stacks of vampire counts attacking me. I had an empire force, and really shit one at that. I let them have 1 ladder, right? And they were just moving up through that ladder on a single file basis, which meant that I was killing them before they were even getting up, and the ones that did get up were getting slaughtered. This was a battle that I should have lost. I know my capabilities. I could not have won that in the normal setting rather than the beta, because, yeah, Vlad von Carstein was there. They had a lot of vampire heroes too. There were armies coming left, right, and center, and I was just slaughtering them. The problem there is it's not just the siege ladders, it's the AI logic. And I think that affects so much there. It's not just this, it affects the pathfinding, it affects so much with the defending AI. If you're being the attacker, it's something that desperately needs to be fixed sooner rather than later, because it's so noticeable. And it's just as bad in some cases when it comes to just the live build. Sure, the siege ladders aren't in place just yet, and we just have the standard ladders, but the standard ladders actually allow for the AI to think a little bit more logically. It's still fucking stupid, don't get me wrong, AI for Total War has always been atrocious, but it still actually thinks a little bit better. For the defenders, nothing really great happened there. Like, they improved the towers a little bit, which, yeah, is always nice, but there was nothing else done. There's still no incentive to defend the walls, which I think is actually quite important, especially with a lot of these siege maps where you know the enemy is going to be focusing around one section. Having some sort of buffs to defend the walls makes a lot of sense there until the walls are taken fully or there's a certain amount of entities. I think a mod actually did do this, where it gave you a little bit more accuracy with your troops, a little bit of extra range, and a little bit of extra morale, so your swordsmen or your halberdiers or whatever can hold the line a little bit better whilst on the walls, until like the gate is destroyed or if they've taken that spot and the towers are no longer active anymore. The problem, as you can see here, is they have to do major AI changes for that too, which could kind of suck. I mean, it wouldn't change too much for the player. You can adapt very, very well, but the Total War AI does not know how to adapt to massive changes. This is why we've seen changes to like flanking, and that's all they do now. It's literally the same flanking tactic, which is kind of annoying, because like if you go back to older Total Wars, like I've noticed it in Attila, yeah, sure, it's not great, but yeah, it's still a little bit better. It's weird. We need a proper battle rework alongside the AI and siege reworks. I don't think we're going to get sieges solved this year. At this point, I don't know if we're even going to get a patch or something. Desperately, we do need another beta just to see what has changed. But I do agree with the fact of what Creative Assembly have said. This is going to take a few patches. This is going to have to fix a lot of things, but it's not just the sieges. It needs to fix it for the attackers, the defenders. We need a battle fix, pathfinding in general for battles, and just AI logic. Sooner rather than later, I think is going to be quite important, considering that I don't think so much attention is going to be put towards core issues alongside the Lords of the End Times. They are banking on that DLC pretty hard, I imagine, because it's going to be big, it's going to make a lot of money. Like I said, it's likely that they're going to be using Warhammer 3 to gain as much capital as possible whilst we're waiting for Warhammer 40k and obviously Med 3, but I don't think that they're coming out this year. Like I speculated in the past, it's going to be something for 2027. It's just a feeling I have, and more content is great, don't get me wrong, but fixes alongside that should be quite important. Even if it's just released in a drip feed, say 7.1, having a fix to AI battle logic, that would be fantastic. Or just getting the ladders out first, because I think that's probably going to be something that people care about more. It's the butt ladders, it's the problems there. And then going from there, you know, fix for the attackers, fix for the defenders, or get a small fix for the defenders in with the tower stuff, because I think a lot of people did like that. Then fix the other problems for the defenders, like holding down the walls, giving an incentive there. I'm just hoping that we'll start to see some information soon. Obviously, not so early, because obviously Creative Assembly right now are slowly going back into the office, I imagine, as from next week. And then it's going to take a while for them just to get their gears going. This happens to every company, and we've seen this with CA before. But I just wanted to talk about sieges because, yeah, it's important. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I am trying to keep up with the daily stuff. I know I'm free for free right now. And hopefully streaming should start again today over on Twitch. But I'm just getting everything done. There's still a lot more to do in the house, believe me. Oh my god. But yeah, have a great day, guys. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.